Tragedy and Renewal, the Poudre River flood of September 2013. It doesn't rain often in Colorado in September. The average rainfall for the area is approximately 15 inches a year. On average, the Poudre River receives less than 2 inches of rain in September. Yet the Rocky Mountain region and eastern prairies can experience dramatic weather swings. Snowstorms, drought conditions, wildfires, tornadoes, and floods are realities for the Poudre River area. The rain that caused the September 2013 flood started on September 9th, and it didn't stop for almost 4 days. Moisture from the Gulf of Mexico and the Pacific Ocean developed into a storm system that stalled over northern Colorado and caused epic flooding. Between 12 and 18 inches of rain fell along the Front Range, with the heaviest amounts near Boulder. Devastation was widespread. From the mouths of the river to the foothills, to downstream communities, roads were destroyed, infrastructure decimated, and 9 people lost their lives.
Monday offered a much-needed reprieve from the rain for northern Colorado, and we wanted to get back up in the air to see how Larimer and Will counties were faring after the worst of last week's flooding. The Poudre River still continues to course through Fort Collins, although the river has gone down significantly. And National Guard helicopters have been able to get up into the mountains to rescue people that are trapped by road washouts. As you can see in Fort Collins, the Poudre is still pretty high, but crews have been able to get in to remove debris. Last week in Fort Collins, the coursing Poudre closed all the bridges leading out of town and backed up a lot of debris coming down from the mountains against a railroad track. The swollen river also flooded many of the areas southwest of Fort Collins, including the area near the Poudre Middle School. The most damage has been wrought in the Big Thompson Canyon, where the river destroyed 17 miles of highway. West of Loveland, the powerful river crashed through dams, flooded neighborhoods, and evacuated hundreds of people. The Poudre River last week flooded many areas near LaPorte and west of Loveland, but by Monday its waters had receded significantly, and a lot of the flood water had receded as well, just leaving some mostly soggy but otherwise okay neighborhoods. The Poudre, however, is still rushing out towards Weld County and has flooded Greeley considerably.
The flooding is significant because this helps scour the river. It brings in new deposits of sediment that will provide nutrients to vegetation. It's scouring new pools for fish and other aquatic life along it. And it's ecosystem-wise, this is what rivers do.
So when we're in an urban environment, flooding can pose a lot of problems for businesses and entities that live on and near the river. But fortunately, Fort Collins has fared pretty well, all things considered, especially compared to some of our neighbors to the south. And partly that's due to good planning. The city has done a good job over the years of thinking about stormwater and how it flows through the Poudre River in the downtown area.
This building, this museum, was built up on a bench at the 500-year floodplain, and the west side of the building is sort of a serpentine shape that follows that floodplain line exactly. And so when the water came up and filled up our big backyard but didn't even approach the building, it was really interesting to see how that interplayed and how that floodplain had been mapped out by engineers, and thankfully we were very relieved to see that the engineers got it right.
Due to different rainfall amounts during the storm, flood impacts varied along the Poudre River.
Fortunately, Windsor was relatively unscathed through that process. We did have some streets that were closed, we did have a few park areas that were flooded and trails that were flooded, but that's pretty much it for Windsor. What it did, though, is give us an opportunity to reach out to our neighbors, much like they did to us many years ago when we suffered a tornado.
Although the Poudre River area flooded and caused property damage along its journey east, the communities affected are committed to recovery and look forward to seeing the positive outcomes of a major flood, including a revitalized ecosystem and improved river health.